Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What is a companion video? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campea Show and on Open Mic, we take live questions from the audience, but we don't always have time to get around to all the live questions that are there. So, I want to make sure you guys know that when you send in those questions, they do get answered in a video. So I gather up those questions we didn't have time for, and I address them here on a companion video. So we got a lot of companion videos to get to, or a lot of questions to get to today. So let's get things started right now. Anthony R. writes, so far I have enjoyed Krypton and Gotham far more than other comic book shows that have actual comic book characters. Better acting, dialogue, and no CW cheesiness. Brainiac was amazing. I like Krypton. Krypton is yet another one of these shows. I never think these shows look any good, and then I end up liking a bunch of them. Like, I didn't think Flash was a good idea. I didn't think Black Lightning was a good idea, and I really like those shows. And I didn't think there was much use for this Krypton show, but I've enjoyed it. Now, do I like it more than the CW shows? I mean, I don't know. I personally prefer Flash over Krypton. I prefer Black Lightning over Krypton, things like that. But they do have some pretty decent acting. There's some questionable acting, some decent dialogue. But I just like the weight of the story. And yes, absolutely, the Brainiac character, primo character. I really like Brainiac so far, so I'm looking forward to Krypton Season 2 for sure. All right, next up. Giovanni, a different way than I spell it, Martinez writes, in the trailer for Far From Home, Nick Fury tells Peter, it's nice to finally meet you, Spider-Man. I'm waiting for all the heroes to appear on Endgame. Wouldn't they have met there? Well, I mean, who knows? You're asking a theoretical question about a movie we haven't seen yet. Right? I mean, we don't even know, I don't think for 100% certain that Samuel Jackson is even in Endgame, right? He wasn't in Infinity War. I won't be surprised if he's in Endgame. So you're asking a question. Wait a minute. He says, nice to meet you, Spider-Man. Well, wouldn't he have met him in Endgame? Well, we don't know. We haven't seen Endgame. I mean, if we haven't seen Infinity War, you might say, well, wouldn't he meet him in Infinity War? Turns out he wasn't in Infinity War until the post-credit scene. So, where are we at? I mean, I don't know. Again, it's a huge theoretical question. And what happens if, I mean, we don't even know how. Are they going to get undusted? Do they create a new parallel reality? I mean, we just don't know. So, no, Giovanni, we cannot say, well, he would have met him in Endgame, because we don't know that that's the case. There are a lot of characters in Infinity War that don't meet each other. So, again, it's just a little bit too out there at this point. So we can't say that based on a movie we haven't seen yet. Harry Killick writes, still hope to see Leicester City FC movie. The team story was just too good. Also, huge Spider-Man fan from England. Seeing Spider really excited me. Are you talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? Because, yeah, that was so good. Or Spider-Man in Infinity War. Or Spider-Man in Homecoming. Or Spider-Man Far From Home. That's coming up. Whatever it is, I'm sure you're happy about it. And yeah, this soccer movie idea came up. This little team that came out of nowhere to win the Champions League, I believe it was. I don't pretend to know what I'm talking about with soccer. I don't follow soccer all that well. But I remember hearing that story, and that would make a pretty inspirational story. All right. Opinionated Uploads writes, Netflix is raising its prices again, $1 to $2. We talked about this on the John Campea Show last week. I have zero issue with that. When you look, here's my thing. Constantly, year after year, studies show the number one use of internet traffic is Netflix. We watch a hell of a lot of Netflix. For what you get for $16 a month? Sorry, well, currently it's $14. What I get on Netflix for $14 a month is laughable. That's a laughable value. Considering how much time we spend watching Netflix, whether it's Netflix original programming or whether it's their curated programming. We watch Netflix more than anything else. At $14, that is a totally unfair and totally ludicrously great value for us. For them to raise their prices $1 to $2, that's nothing. Talk to me when they increase their prices to the point that that's not worth it anymore. What we get from Netflix is not worth whether your price point is $30 or $40. I don't know. Talk to me when that happens. As for right now, I think that's a perfectly reasonable price range. And even the prices that it's going to it's still a ludicrously good value. So I have no problems with it, actually. I really don't. Terry Funk writes, the Terry Funk? Ready to Rumble 2, please. I don't know, man. I mean, I love David Arquette, but if that's the movie I'm thinking about. But I'm not really down for Ready to Rumble 2 personally, but maybe some people would be. Pablo Diablo writes, who said it? Sharks only bite when you touch their private parts. I don't know. I mean, there's sometimes you guys ask me, well, usually you ask me these quotes and I get them. Sometimes you ask me and I'm like, oh, it's around the tip of my tongue. I have no idea what that one. I don't even have it remotely in my head what that one is. So let me look this one up. I'll look this one up. Sharks only bite when you touch them in their private parts. That is a quote from, I don't know what it's from. I'm seeing a still. Oh, that's from 50 First Dates. I had no recollection of that. I've seen 50 First Dates like twice. So yeah, I had no recollection. So you stumped me on that one. Okay. Adam Beavers writes, hey guys, you are must-watch TV. Thank you so much, Adam. Varsity Blues was released, oh my God, are you serious? 20 years ago today. My favorite football movie. Holy crap. I'm telling you what, Adam, if you ask me, just straight up ask me, hey, how long ago did Varsity Blues come out? I'd say, I don't know, around 10 years, 10 something years. 20, I got to look that up. Hold on a second. Are you serious? Varsity Blues was 20 years ago? 1999. Oh my God. Wow. Oh, I forgot Amy Smart was in that. I love Amy Smart. I love Amy Smart. Of course, Scott Conn is in there, Jonathan Voight, James Van Der Beek, things like that. But that was 20 years ago. I never would have guessed. Never would have guessed 20 years ago. Holy crap, that makes me feel old. Okay, Pablo Diablo writes, which Hawaii-based comedy rom-com did it better? Forgetting Sarah Marshall or 50 First Dates? I really should watch 50 First Date again, obviously, because you gave that quote. I forgot how funny it was. 50 First Dates is good. It's not Forgetting Sarah Marshall good. Now, all film is subjective. You may feel differently, and that's totally cool. 50 First Dates to me is good. It's a good comedy. Like I've seen it about twice. Forgetting Sarah Marshall, to me, is ridiculously funny. Like I've watched that movie probably a dozen times, if not more. I love that movie. It's unbelievable. Mila Kunis is so good at it. Jason Segel's so good in it. Sarah Marshall, of course, is so. It's great. Jonah Hill is great in it. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful comedy. And, made me want to see somebody make a vampire movie with puppets. I dig that movie so much, so I'm going to give the edge to Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Helsing7747 writes, do you think there's a genre bias at the Oscars? If so, how can we take the Oscars seriously? No, I don't. There are some people that do, but honestly, when you really go back into the history of things, I really don't believe there is. I really don't. So, yeah, again, I get there's some... But look... Oscars don't nominate crowd pleasers. The history shows that they do. The Oscars won't genre movies. Lord of the Rings won 11 Academy Awards. I mean, just Lord of the Rings Return of the King won 11 Academy Awards. All 3 Lord of the Rings movies nominated for Best Picture. Don't tell me there's a genre bias. Whenever somebody accuses of genre bias, what that really means is the Oscars don't nominate the movies I want them to nominate. Well, too bad. I mean, right? They don't always nominate the films I want them to nominate either. Some feel that there are. I believe there's totally not. No, I don't believe there's any Oscar or there's any genre bias. If anything, there's a huge genre bias with a lot of the movie fans today. Because there's a lot of movie fans today. If it's not a comic book movie or a Star Wars movie, they don't go see them. Like so many people have not watched Black Klansman. So many people have not watched The Favorite. So many people have not watched Green Book. If anything, there is a genre bias with a lot of film fans who refuse to see anything other than the extreme genres. Comic book, sci-fi, horror, whatever. It's like those are the only movies they watch. If there's a genre bias anywhere, it's quite often with us, the film fans. But anyway, that's just kind of my thoughts on that. Sam, right? Thoughts on How You Met Your Mother? I was never a big How I Met Your Mother fan. I certainly haven't watched most of it. And the stuff that I have watched of it, I'm just in minority on this one. It's just not one that worked, despite the fact that they have some good Canadian kids in that cast. It's just not one that ever worked for me. So, yeah, sorry. I know a lot of you guys probably love that show, and that's great. I'm not poo-pooing on it or anything. I'm just saying that it's one that wasn't necessarily for me. Rick Keir writes, I think New Men in Black will cross over with rebooted 21 Jump Street. No, it's not. They officially killed that idea. And a couple of weeks ago, the producer of 21 Jump Street came out and talked that it's officially dead. Like, there was a time when they were honestly, seriously looking at crossing over. It was going to be called MIB-23, MI-23 or something like that. And it never happened. And then we wondered if it ever would, even though there's a new Men in Black coming. And the producer said, nah, it died. It died because there were just too many rights issues. We could never figure out a way to really make it work. And it's gone. So, look, a lot of people laughed at the idea when it first came up, including me. But then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? That could actually work. So I'm actually a little disappointed it's not going to happen. Sebastian writes, great. Love Robert Meyer Burnett on the show. Great energy and knowledge. I love having Robert on the show. He's great. Folsom 53 writes, do you agree with the notion that Rian Johnson in The Last Jedi ignored plot points set up by JJ in The Force Awakens? No, I don't. Rick Keir writes, Robert, you're getting Hot Toys Justice League Batman. I didn't know there was a Justice League Batman coming up, but if it's coming out, he'll probably get it because he is a sucker for them Hot Toys. Aren't we all, though? Joe Byram writes, Avengers 4, Future Cap, and Tony meet Past Cap and Tony. Past Cap and Tony ask, if you're really us from the future, what number are we thinking of? I suppose was that from Wild Stallions? Was that from, why am I forgetting the name of the Wild Stallions movie? I'm just suddenly drawing a blank on it. Bill and Ted. Well, was that a Bill and Ted line? I can't remember. Okay, David Crabtree writes, you want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. That Han had it coming. Damn right, David. Damn, I wish that question got on the live show so Robert could have been here to grit his teeth. Damn right, Han had it coming. By the way, if you haven't seen A Few Good Men with Jack Nicholson, Tom Cruise, Demi Moore, watch A Few Good Men. You all know the line. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. Or I want the truth. You can't handle the movie's wonderful. Make sure you guys check that out. Thanks for quoting it a little bit there, David. Murray Reichs writes, Spider-Man had it coming. Hashtag, I like that. Straight out of Asgard. Great name. I like that too. Writes, Spider-Man was supposed to have a passport since Captain America Civil War. What do you think? Are they going to address it or they just forgot about it? Hold on a second. Straight out of Asgard. Do you honestly think that Iron Man, who has to go get Captain America right now, really went and got Peter at his apartment in New York and said, now let's go down to JFK, buy a plane ticket on United Airlines, go through security, take a 12-hour flight. They didn't do that. He didn't need to have a passport. He just pulled him out and they hopped in a Quinjet and flew to Germany. They didn't go, no. They didn't forget about that, but there is no way they just went through traditional means of coming over into Germany. They didn't get on a plane, go through customs. They didn't do that. So no, they didn't forget about it. He didn't need to have a passport at that point. All right. Suthius85 writes, hope you are well, Mr. Campia. I'm having a pretty good evening. Thank you for asking. One of my biggest pet peeves as a movie or TV episode is when I don't see one single character eat something. It drives me crazy. For me, it kind of loses the realism of the world they're in. I don't know about that. Look, let's just talk about movies for a second. Movies are 2 hours long. You got 2 hours to tell your story. Most movies are not done in real time. So they're showing you the highlights. Is one of the highlights really going to sit down to eat a PB&J sandwich? We also don't see a lot of characters taking a dump. Do we need to see them go into a bathroom and, take a dump for it to feel? I don't know. That's never been an issue to me. But we all have there are these little things that each one of us as film fans will just kind of itch on us a little bit. For you, it's not seeing people stop to eat. Okay, that's not one for me, but I have some pretty strange ones. So it is really interesting that you bring that up, because it kind of goes to that whole point that we all approach movies differently. We experience films differently, but we also bring our own set of expectations and sets of eyes to a movie. So we see things, and certain things will affect us in different ways. And for you, that's somebody not eating. Again, for me, that's not an issue, but I totally respect that that's one for you. Interesting thing that you bring up there. I like that. All right, Rick Keir follows up. We get Venom 2 before Batman, and I enjoyed Venom. I think we're going to end up having Venom 2 before we get Batman. I do. Now, that's not necessarily a knock on how long it's going to take us to get Batman. I just think actually Sony's going to move pretty quick on Venom 2. I don't know that for certain, but I think they've already got a 2020 release date locked down. So I think they're going to get moving on Venom very, very quickly. And I do believe we're going to get Venom 2 before Batman. All right. Robert Michaels writes, Hobbs and Shaw post-credit scene, revelation going back to Fast 6. It was actually Dom and crew who masterminded Han's death. Why? Because, say with me, kids, Han had it coming. Damn right. There you go. I love that. Thank you for sending in my favorite messages of the week so far, Robert. I really appreciate that. All right. Brandon Clark writes, what should the next MCU villain be after Thanos? Don't care. I don't care. Whatever villain best suits the story they want to tell. I honestly, I've been asked that question a million times. Who should the next villain be? Who should the next villain be? Who should the next villain? It doesn't matter. I don't care. You can have the greatest comic book villain in there, but if it doesn't suit the story and it's not used well, it doesn't matter. That's not going to make the movie any better. We've seen Doctor Doom in movies suck, and we've seen Galactus in movies suck. I mean, just know what you want your story to be, and then select the villain you think will best accentuate and highlight the strengths of that story. Because honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even really matter if it's a character we recognize or not. It's helpful if it is, but it doesn't even have to be. So, I have no preference. I just whatever character, whatever villain best suits the story they're trying to tell, that's good with me. Let's see. Ryan Trabuco writes, hey, John and Rob. So, John, I went to the movies and tried your butter straw trick on the popcorn. You, sir, are a genius. I'm telling you, you'll never go back once you do it. For those of you who don't know, popcorn to me is nothing but a butter delivery device. I like having lots of butter on my popcorn, but the butter never gets to the bottom. So what I do is I stick a straw in to near the bottom of the bag, then stick the top of the straw in the butter dispenser. And as I dispense the butter, I got to have somebody hold the button down for me. I move the straw around and raise it up to the top of the bag. So now you got butter all throughout the thing. And I'm glad to spread the good word about this technique, and I'm glad it works for you, friend. All right. Ryan follows it up with a super chat shout out to Iron Ray and Captain Jonathan. I know Ray and Fact Checker Jonathan really appreciate when you guys give them a shout out. They work very hard on the show. Ray, of course, doing a lot of graphics. He also just scrolls the super chat for us on the show. Jonathan, who runs all the production. Just couldn't do it without these guys. And it's always great. I love the fact that you guys give them shout outs, and I appreciate that. And I know they appreciate that. So thanks a lot for that, Ryan. Holy G-E-Bus writes, hey, John, good job getting Ashley to read the news for us. She's cute and seems to be holding her own with you and Robert at the table. Kiss, kiss, gang, bang. Yeah, so Ashley has been a tremendous addition. Here's the reality, though. I don't expect Ashley's going to be around for long. Ashley is my assistant. She's also a production assistant, and she does stuff on camera. She wears a lot of different hats. But honestly, I don't expect her to last very long. Why? Because she is an actress and a model, and she gets work, and it's only a matter of time before she lands a role that's going to require her full-time attention. Honestly, it's only a matter of time. And I love losing staff members to big opportunities. When they get I love that. That's great. So we're just going to enjoy having Ashley around as long as we can. And maybe that'll be for a year. Maybe it'll be for a month. I don't know. But at some point, she's going to get bigger and bigger roles. She gets a lot of modeling work and a lot of acting work, mostly commercials, but she's also getting other types of work too. And it's only a matter of time, my friends, before she lands one of those really good things. And then we'll lose her, and then I'll go find somebody else. But that'll be a good day. And I actually told her today, we were talking today, and I said, I'm looking forward, because she's talking about this callback to an audition she got for a decently big show. And I said flat out, me and Robert and her were there, and Jonathan and Ren. I said, I'm actually really looking forward to you not being here anymore because you got one of these big breaks. Because I think she deserves it. So there's that. But she has been fitting in great, and I really like having her around. All right. Mason Barr writes, I'm not sure if it's a joke, but Ghostbusters 3 announcement trailer was in my YouTube feed this morning. Seems real, and a few channels talking about it. Remember, so this obviously came from a question last week. Yep, it was real. They announced the movie with a teaser. Now, you don't see any actors or anything like that. It's just something they made for it, just to see the back of the Ghostbuster. It's nothing big or important, but nope, no joke. Ghostbusters 3 is coming, to the chagrin of Leslie Jones. But, and it's being brought by Jason Reitman, the son of Ivan Reitman, who brought us the Ghostbusters in the first place. Jason Reitman might even be a better director than his father. I love this. I think it's great, and we talked about it a lot on the show. Anyway. Krieger119 writes, Ghostbusters teaser had old music and the old Ecto-1. Oh yeah, remember this, they're saying this is going to be in the continuity of the original films. Now that doesn't mean it's going to be Dr. Venkman back again, and it doesn't mean that, but it does mean this world, this timeline, this universe that this Ghostbusters will take in is the same one of the original Ghostbusters. So Peter Venkman is out there somewhere. Egon is out there somewhere, Pardon me. So, yeah. So it only makes sense that they have the old music in the original Ecto-1. Only makes sense, and to me, that's pretty exciting. All right. Marie Seifring writes, what does Marie write? Where did I lose it? There she is. Have you seen anything new about a McDonald's monopoly scam? Oh, no, I haven't. Anyway, have you seen anything new about a McDonald's monopoly scam film? Matt Damon and Ben Affleck bought the story rights for it last August, and I haven't seen any news since then. Thanks, and I love the show. Yeah, there was actually a bidding war for the story rights to this. It's a true story about, McDonald's has that Monopoly game, and some guy figured out how to scam the system and make millions and millions of dollars off it. They caught him, and every studio made pitches to get this story. And I even believe Steve Carell did one of them with one of the studios. Anyway, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck working with Sony, I think. I think it was with Sony. I believe the Steve Carell pitch was for Universal, and then everybody had somebody attached. But Affleck and Damon's, I believe, was for Universal. I could be wrong about that. Or I believe it was for Sony. And they won that thing. So they won the story rights to make this movie. I believe that story came out when I was still at my last place. So over a year and a half ago, I believe. Unless I'm not remembering it right. And I thought this was something they were going to fast track. And I honestly, Marie, haven't heard a single thing about it since. So no, I'm a little bit stumped there. I haven't heard a single thing about it since, but I am dying to see what they're going to do with this for sure. All right. Rick Keir writes, if Thor met Matt Reeves... Oh, bring me Batman. What a great line, by the way, in Infinity War. When he shows up, bring me Thanos. Woo! That's just great moment. And he said, bring me Batman. Cameron Armac Kenqui Modig writes, hey, John, big fan of your show. Should they still continue with the Crow reboot, or do you think that is completely dead? Look, they have been trying for years and years and years to get this Crow reboot going. They've had director after director after director attached, gone. They've had actor after actor, including a Tom Hiddleston, including Luke Evans, including, a number of people. And then most recently, Jason Momoa. Aquaman himself. And then just 2 weeks before they're supposed to start shooting, boom, the financing falls through. Jason Momoa leaves the project, the director leaves the project, and they're back to square one. I believe it will happen at some point. They're not going to give up on it. They want to make this thing. I think it's going to get done sometime, someday. But don't hold your breath, because it ain't going to be anytime soon, my friend. It ain't going to be anytime soon. All right. The Flick in Critic writes, started True Detective Season 3 yet, loved the first 2 episodes. Nope, still haven't watched it. I am behind. I still have to watch Punisher Season 2. I still haven't watched Punisher Season 2. I just haven't had time to sit down and watch it. So no, and look, I mean, my God, Mahershala Ali is starring in it. I'm dying to see it, but it's not even at the top of my list right now. I've got a few other things I got to get through still. I still got to finish the last episode of Runaway Season 2. I'm on the last episode, and Ann and I just haven't had time the last couple of days to finally get caught up with it. Maybe tonight we will. All right. Taumis Yusuf writes, how Aquaman didn't make the VFX shortlist is still odd to me. If Black Panther can make it, Aquaman should. But yeah, shit happens. I know I keep hearing a lot of guys say that, Tamus. I disagree. And guess what? You know who else disagreed? All the visual effects artists. Because remember, it's the visual effects artists branch who decide who the nominees for best VFX are going to be. And there's the Visual Effects Society Awards that came out last week. And guess what wasn't nominated for any of their top awards? Aquaman wasn't nominated. Because as somebody who worked in the visual effects industry myself, on a shallow scale, but I worked for a VFX company for years. My impression, and it's subjective, but my impression was there is nothing really exceptionally done well in Aquaman. It's solid. The visual effects are solid. And there's a lot of visual effects. But that doesn't, that crocodile that Orm rode always looked fake to me. The sharks always looked fake to me. Those giant seahorses, I was never convinced they were living, breathing creatures. The environment looked great. Atlantis looked good as an environment. And, Black Panther, which was not nominated for Best Visual Effects, but it did make the final 10. Black Panther had a couple of scenes of really crappy CGI, but they also had a couple of scenes of extraordinary visual effects. Like the car chase scene after they get out of the casino, and oh my God, the visual effects in that scene are ridiculously good. Yes, the scene where Killmonger and T'Challa are fighting as they're falling down the pit. Okay, that looked terrible. Yes. But there was a lot of exceptions. I just never felt, and clearly the visual effects artists didn't either. I just never felt there was any part of Aquaman from a visual effects point of view that was truly exceptional. Solid, not bad. And there was a lot of it, but yeah, I would not nominate Aquaman for Best Visual Effects. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't nominate necessarily Black Panther either, but if it did get a nomination, there's some crappy CGI, but there's some exceptional CGI as well. Yeah, but Black Panther didn't get nominated either, and I'm cool with that. But the ones they nominated, totally worth it. Infinity War, Christopher Robin, First Man, Solo, a Star Wars story, Ready Player One, all with better visual effects, in my opinion, than probably either Black Panther or Aquaman. So that's just my 2 cents worth. Hans Studman writes, I'm a bit suspicious about Ghostbusters movie. I mean, look, you should be a bit suspicious about any movie. Nothing is guaranteed to be great. Nothing. And as sacrilegious as it sounds, that includes Endgame, my friends. Endgame could suck. It could. It totally could. I don't expect it to, but it's possible. So I wouldn't blame you at all, Hans, for having a little bit of suspicion when it comes to the new Ghostbusters. Sure. I mean, the last one, I liked the last one, the 2016 one. It wasn't great though, and a lot of people didn't like it. And it flopped and all that kind of stuff. So, and it's been a long time. Been a long time since the Ghostbusters prior to the 2016 one. Sure, there'd be a little bit there to be a little bit, trepidatious about, if you will. A little bit of an eyebrow raise. So I don't blame you at all, Hans. Not one little bit. Terrell Coates writes, Spider-Man PS4 and Into the Spider-Verse made me fall in love with the character all over again and taught me what it really means to be Spider-Man. I think Tom Holland might be least favorite Spider-Man of 2018. I don't know, man. Spider-Man in PS4 is great, but it's not a movie. It's not a movie. Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, if you're talking about Peter Parker, also was great. That Jake Johnson Peter Parker was wonderful. The Chris Pine Spider-Man was good too, but the Jake Johnson one was one that really stole the show. Hey, look, 2018 was a great year for Spider-Man because you had him in Infinity War, you had the Into the Spider-Verse, and you had the PS4 game. What more can you ask for, man? Like, what more can you ask for? What a year it was for Spider-Man. And yeah, maybe as great as Tom Holland is, I could see why somebody would go, Tom Holland's my least favorite of all the Spider-Man. He still ranks pretty high for me, but I could totally see it. All right. Where do we go here? Cincy17 writes, with 2 Avengers, Venom, Far From Home, Spider-Verse, and a Spidey game all in just a year, I can't recall this much exposure for one character. Is this good or bad? It all depends, Cincy. As you know, we were just talking about that. It all depends on the quality of the content you're getting. You know, and this goes back to like the whole thing too about, is there comic book movie fatigue? You remember how they've been telling us for 10 years, every single year, comic book movie fatigue this year, and it doesn't happen. But comic book movie fatigue this year, and it doesn't happen, and the next year comes. Comic book movie fatigue this year, and they keep saying it, but not. The reason we haven't had comic book movie fatigue yet is because we are, for the most part, continuously getting good quality and a very different types of comic book movies. We got a Venom and we got an Infinity War, which are 2 totally different types of movies. We get a Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, totally different type of movie. We get an Aquaman, totally different type of movie. I mean, we're continuing year in and year out to get quality stuff, and that wards off the onset of the genre fatigue. I'd say the same principle applies to individual characters. Yeah, look, if the Spider-Man game sucked, and if Into the Spider-Verse wasn't good, and we weren't all that thrilled with Peter Parker in Infinity War, we're going to start getting tired of that character. And having loss after loss after loss so closely together, that wouldn't be good. But if they're continuing to deliver good quality content that we are enjoying, why not? Look, you're asking that much exposure to one character. How about any television show? How about any television show? Name it. Name your show. The lead character in that show, you're getting that character 12 to 22 times in 1 year. As long as it's good, we don't get tired of it. As long as it's good, we continue to appreciate it. And I think the same principle applies to Spider-Man. But that's just my opinion on that anyway. All right, Alan Gonzalez writes, I saw Aquaman last night and they showed the Endgame trailer. Oh man, I got the chills. Can't wait. I can't wait either. Now again, pardon me guys, I've still got my cough. I wasn't jumping up and down and jumping over the moon about the Spider-Man Endgame trailer, but I thought it was very good for a first trailer. Like I joke around about and say, the Avengers Endgame trailer was the people looking sad and sitting down trailer. In this shot, this guy looks sad and is sitting down. Then we come to this shot where it's a different guy looking sad and sitting down. Ooh, now look, it's a girl who looks sad and sitting down. And then hold your horses, everybody. Along comes Hawkeye and he's standing and looking sad. I mean, that, right? I mean, I joke about it, but it's a good trailer. I enjoyed it. But it's not like the trailer of the year or anything like that. But it was a first trailer. Oh my God. You wait for the second trailer. Just you wait for the second trailer. That might end up being the final trailer. We're going to get a second trailer for Endgame. And I believe it's going to blow us away. I don't know that for sure. I don't know that for a fact. Who knows? The next trailer may come and it may be absolutely dreadful and horrible. So might be awful, might be horrible, might be all those things. But I got a feeling the second trailer is going to blow us. First one was good. Very, very solid trailer for a first trailer. As far as everybody sitting down looking sad. Yes, it was a good trailer. I enjoyed it. It was effective for what it was trying to do. I'm just telling you, when the second trailer hits, it's going to kick us all in the proverbial crotch. And we're going to go, oh, and our jaws are going to drop, and I cannot wait. It's going to be awesome. Okay. Alan Gonzalez writes, also, Aquaman was good. I still have hope in the DCU, and I bet they will keep Henry Cavill. Oh, I bet you they're not. I bet you they're not. And that kills me to say that, because you guys know Henry Cavill is my favorite. Henry is my favorite Superman we've ever had. Henry's my favorite. I love Henry Cavill as Superman. But if anything, the success of things like Wonder Woman and the success of an Aquaman is making Warner Brothers go, oh, so we make these movies without Batman and Superman and we have great success. Okay, let's keep moving in that direction. I don't think it's going to help. And their mentality is going to be, we've made movies with Henry Cavill as Superman and had marginal success. We make movies without him, big success. I don't agree with that logic, but I'm just telling you that's the way they're looking at it right now. So yeah, I wouldn't get my hopes up, my friend. I wouldn't get my hopes up. All right, Krieger119 writes, but John, Event Horizon is awesome. I don't like it, but that's cool. If you like it, that's great. The gore was great. Y'all know anything about that uncut version that I've heard about? I've heard about it too. I've never seen it just because I've never liked the film. And look, I'm one of those guys, if I don't like a movie, I'm not going to go and look for a director's cut because I just didn't like the movie, you know? Event Horizon is just one that didn't work for me. But Event Horizon is one of those movies that it seems to be that you either love or you hate. Kind of like Watchmen. Like a lot of people hate Watchmen. A lot of people love Watchmen, you know? And it kind of feels like Event Horizon is one of those. And if you're one of those guys that you like it, that's awesome. I'm one of those guys that it didn't really work for me, which is too bad. But hey, is what it is. All right, Spirit Man Studios writes, what do you think of Ghostbusters 3 tease? I like the tease. I thought it was effective. I thought it was fun hearing that music. I mean, and really, it might as well have just been a place card that said Ghostbusters 3, but they put a little drama, they put a little bit of dramatic stuff to it by having the storm and the winds and seeing the Ecto-1 and all that kind of stuff. It was really, it's not even a tease. It's not even an announcement. It's just an announcement. That's all it is. It's just an announcement. I liked it. And I like that they went that little extra mile, that actually put something a little like that together. And it did a couple of things. I think by having the original music, and I think by having the original Ecto-1, they're basically telling the audience, guys, we're going to go back to what we're familiar with. We're going to go back to what you're familiar with. That's what we're getting back into. So I thought it was pretty smart on their part. Lyle Navin writes, Wonder Woman 1984 is 9th DCEU. Captain America Winter Soldier was MCU's 9th. Interesting. Was Winter Soldier the 9th? I didn't realize that. Holy crap, that means we've had like more than 10 or 11 movies since Captain America Winter Soldier. Woo, I mean, I don't know if your math is right, Lyle, but I don't have any reason off the top of my head oh my gosh, Winter Soldier was like 11 films ago for the MCU? Wow. I mean, they just come and go so quick. It's so weird to think about. That is interesting, dude. I'm Upset writes, thoughts on Expendables trilogy. Hated 1 and 3, loved 2. I did not hate 1. I didn't hate 1. I wasn't particularly all that thrilled with Expendables 1. I thought the idea was good. And there are some redeemable things about it. I thought it was all right, but I didn't love it. 2, I thought was quite good. I liked 2 quite a bit. 3 was a missed opportunity. Because they had a lot of great people there, but I think they just overdid it, and they got ahead of themselves, and blah, blah, blah. Now, Stallone still insists that he's going to do Expendables 4. So it'll be interesting to see, does Expendables 4 feel more like Expendables 1, or does it feel more like Expendables 2? Do they try to pare it down and have like 6 or 7 core characters, or they're going to try to have 15 main characters again? It'll be interesting to see what direction they go. Adam K. writes, what do you think will be the best picture lineup? Well, this morning they announced it, so it's unfair of me to ask. I'll say this, there wasn't a lot of surprises on there. A big disappointment to me that A Quiet Place wasn't nominated, but I saw that coming. I really think it should have been, but in the last few weeks, you could see which way the wind was blowing. I knew it wasn't going to get nominated. I was still hoping, but I mean, yeah, no real big surprises there. Again, the big surprise to me was I thought the three movies with the best chance to win Best Picture, in no particular order, was Roma, Green Book, and A Star is Born. But then they announced the Best Director nominees, and neither A Star is Born director or Green Book's director got nominated for Best Director. Alfonso Cuarón, who is the director of Roma, did. Only four times in Oscar history has the Best Picture winning movie not had their director nominated for Best Director. The last time it happened was Ben Affleck for Argo. Argo won Best Picture. Ben Affleck wasn't even nominated for director. So only four times in history has a movie without its director being nominated for Best Director gone on to win Best Picture. So that does not bode very well for either Green Book or A Star is Born. To me, it's looking right now like Roma is going to be a lock. All right. Gene Check writes, I've had A-List for less than a month. I've seen Spider-Verse, Instant Family, A Dog's Way Home, Upside, Bumblebee twice, Escape Room, Vice, and Aquaman. I've been saying this for a long time, and it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I used to work for this company. I have some good blood and some bad blood with that company. But I'm telling you what, this A-List thing is the best thing to ever happen to movie fans, I think. I think it's the best thing to happen to movie fans. It is amazing. The value of this deal is insane. It is so worth it, and I'm glad you're getting your use out of it, and it gives you an avenue, because that would have cost you hundreds. But for $20, you get to go and enjoy all these films, seeing so many more films than you would have had a chance, and for a good value and a good deal, it gives you good flexibility. I love A-List, man. Gene, I love A-List, and I'm glad you're enjoying it too, Gene. So keep up with it. All right. RA's Reviews writes, saw Glass on Saturday. Thought it was solid. Third act felt like a different movie, though. Look, I had some people tweeting me saying, John, why did you hate Glass? I did not hate Glass. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. I found it to be a very sloppy, very lazy, although I will say this, whereas most people, even people who like the movie, kind of question the third act, I'll say this, I appreciate the third act because I appreciate and see where M. Night Shyamalan was trying to go for. And it was gutsy, and it was different, and it was his twist, and I get it. But just because he was going for it doesn't mean you give him marks for it. It didn't work. Fine. But I'll at least say I appreciated what he was going for. I did. So I was really excited about the film. I was looking forward to it. But you know what? I don't think, a lot of people saying, does this end M. Night Shyamalan? Nope. He's still 2 out of 3 for his last 3 films. The Visit is a solid movie. Split is a solid movie. Maybe Glass isn't, but even if it's not, he's on a little bit of a good streak right now. I think he's going to get another shot at something. All right. Where are we? Okay. Sean Love writes, over under 20 or 2.5%. Fury loses his eye because of Dan versus Cat. Hashtag stay Silthy. I believe, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. I don't think he's going to lose his eye in this movie. I don't think Fury's going to lose his eye in Captain Marvel. I think it's going to be one of those things where we keep waiting for him to lose his eye, and we'll be like, this is it. This is where he loses his eye. Oh, and he doesn't lose his eye. And I think they're going to toy with us like that throughout the film. And I'm guessing, I could be totally wrong about this, and who cares? But I'm just guessing that he doesn't lose his eye at all. So I'll go under 2.5%. I'll take the under on that. All right. Maja Norbai writes, so I ask you, as both warrior and king, how long do you think you can keep your friends safe from me? That is, of course, King T'Challa. Talking to Captain America after they've been arrested and sitting in the back of that truck. So I ask you, as both warrior and king. Such a great line. Like, Black Panther was already badass in Civil War before that, but when he said that line, as warrior and king, I'm like, okay, chills. Just chills. I love that line, man. I love that line. All right, Salah Panchad writes, still not clear about your frustration with Cineplex. Got an IMAX CM, I don't know what that is, tick for $20 with tax. Didn't know about the one you went to, but the ones in Saga, that's Mississauga, and Oakville are great. Some may even get a Tim's in them. For those of you who don't know, Tim Hortons is like the greatest coffee donuts in the world. So there's that. Okay, so the problem I have with Cineplex, that's wonderful that you had a great experience there. But what I've noticed the last couple of times, besides the fact that they have an unreasonable amount of time of commercials and trailers that play before their shows, and I hate commercials. I don't mind trailers so much, but commercials to me are unforgivable. Unforgivable. I appreciate that. But the big thing is they take advantage of their customers and they strong on their customers, because there have been a couple of times that I've wanted to go to a movie at a Cineplex and the only options they give you are in stupid 3D. And they want you to go to 3D because they can charge you more for 3D. I was taking my mom to go see Aquaman. There were 7 screenings of Aquaman. 6 of them were in 3D. And the only screening that wasn't in 3D was the most inconvenient time in the world, 4:45 in the afternoon. That was the only option they had. And I looked down, and almost all the movies they had were like that. It's terrible. And most of the theaters don't have pre-assigned seating. And then they have some that will have some pre-assigned seating, but those are the D boxes. And you can have pre-assigned seating with the D boxes, but you got to spend $8 extra to get those tickets. It's just terrible. It's terrible. And I'm really disappointed in that company, because I am somebody who has grown up loving that company. I've got a lot of my all-time favorite movie-going memories are at Cineplex theaters. And that there's no excuse for. To me, there's just no excuse for that. I'm glad your experience has been good. That's awesome. But to me, yeah, man, there's just absolutely no excuse for something like that. To me, that's just terrible. Anyway, let's move on here. Alexander Olafson writes, can't wait to see Zac Efron as Ted Bundy. I have been excited for this movie ever since they announced it. I've heard great things coming out of the studio. They're very happy with it from what I hear. Now, we've heard that before, and usually it turns out to be good, but we've heard that the studio is very happy with it and it not work out so good too. So take that with a grain of salt, but I'm hearing good things about it. I've been saying for a few years now that I believe that Zac Efron is a tragically underrated actor. He doesn't always pick the best movies to be in, but he's a great performer. And he was great in Greatest Showman. He was wonderful in that. But I think this is going to give him a real chance to show off a lot of his chops, and I cannot wait. All right. Goku's on DBZ writes, my prediction came true. The Patriots versus the Rams. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad. I was rooting for the Rams. I mean, look, I loved all 4 teams. I love KC and obviously my Patriots. That's my number 1 team. And, I'm an LA guy. I love the brand of football the Rams play. I was cheering for the Rams, but I love Drew Brees and the Saints too. But yeah, if it came down to it, I was cheering for the Patriots and the Rams. I feel so bad, though, for both the Saints, especially the Saints and the KC, because I don't like the overtime rules in the NFL. The fact that only New England got to have a possession, I don't like. I mean, I get it. That's the rule, and New England won. Yay, my team won, but I do not like that rule. I think each team should have a chance to have the ball. And I feel bad that KC was a victim of that, and I think they need to change that rule. And as far as the other game, the Saints were just robbed. Pure, flat out, egregiously robbed. Like, there's no excuse for that. LA's got to go to the Super Bowl, yay, but they can't feel good about it because they lost that game. They lost that game. And the refs handed it to them. But it is what it is. Yay, my team's won. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Patriots versus Rams. It's going to be a great Super Bowl. All right. Cobra writes, over under 50%, Captain Marvel makes more than Wonder Woman after it finishes its run. Hard to say. The thing about when you're looking at movies like Spider-Man or Spider-Man Homecoming, when you look at Aquaman, when you look at Black Panther, these were all standalone character movies that had the benefit of appearing in other movies first. Tom Holland's Spider-Man appeared in Civil War. T'Challa also made his first appearance in Civil War before Black Panther came out. Aquaman got to appear in Justice League. So the audience got to know them a bit first, and then their solo film came out, big results. When you get movies like Ant-Man that didn't have that benefit, when you get a movie like Doctor Strange that didn't have that benefit, you get these movies that still make a lot of money, but in the $600-700 million range, right? Captain Marvel has not appeared in anything yet. 850, whatever, Wonder Woman came in, I can't remember the number off the top of my head here. I'll look it up here. Wonder Woman box office. Okay, I believe it was 860. I'm going to say, no, 821. 821, that's a big number. That's a big number. Wonder Woman appeared in Justice League first. We haven't seen Captain Marvel in anything yet. So 50% is a good line. You know, I'll take the over 50%. I'll take the over on that by this much. I think you can get up to 850, 860, 870, maybe even 9. I don't think it'll hit $1 billion, but hey, you know, I didn't think Venom could hit 800 million, and it did, and I didn't think Aquaman could hit $1 billion, and it did, but yeah, again, there was some benefit that those ones had that Captain Marvel doesn't, so I'm going to guess over, but not by much. Not by much. That's my guess at any rate. Okay, Vincenti Gomez writes, I felt like Han Solo getting stabbed by a lightsaber when John said baseball is the sport. Still a Patreon supporter, though. Rob, what do you think? Well, obviously, Rob is not here. Yeah, sorry about that, Vincent. That's why I don't talk about baseball much. I don't want to rub that in anybody's face. I don't consider baseball a sport. I consider it a game of skill. Much like bowling or curling or darts. I consider them games of skill, of great skill. But I you know, a game in which you stand around, where a professional paid athlete, can literally stand in left field all game doing this. And not move? Hard for me to call that a sport. And I don't mean to offend anybody. It's a very difficult game. I couldn't do it. But, I mean, there's a lot of games that I wouldn't be very good at. But anyway, that's just me. But anyway, I'm glad you can get past that sin of mine, Vincente. I'm glad you can get past that sin of mine. I'm sure that bothers a lot of people. So whatever, it is what it is. But I'm glad you were able to look by that. But I'm sorry I caused you that pain, my friend. I am sorry I caused you that pain. I shall not mention it again. All right. Luke writes, John, I'm a big fan of The Blacklist. I've watched the first 4 episodes of season 6. I'm just curious if you are up with the show and what you think. I'm not caught up, but I've watched the first episode of the news. I liked it. I'm still trepidatious about, there's that word again. I'm still have a lot of, I'm nervous about this storyline that he's not the real Raymond Reddington. I still don't know what I think about that, but I will say this. I like the first episode of the season, and I'm looking forward to getting caught up on the rest, because I'm a fan of The Blacklist as well. I like The Blacklist. I love that Ultron leads it. It's a good cast. Dembe is, I think, a great character, an underappreciated character in television. I just dig it. So yeah, I can't wait to see where the rest of the season goes, but I'm not caught up. I'm 2 or 3 episodes behind at this point. All right. Alex Perez writes, if Brady wins this Super Bowl, will that end the debate of him being the best quarterback of all time? Well, first of all, everybody who knows anything already knows he's the greatest of all time. This will be, this is his 18th season. This is his 9th Super Bowl appearance. That means every year when the NFL season starts, it is a 50% chance that he's going to be in the Super Bowl. That's insane. 9 Super Bowl appearances in 18 years. 5 rings already. Multiple MVPs, Super Bowl MVPs, blah, blah. There's no logic debating it. He holds tons of the records, and he's maintained this level of excellence with a complete reshuffling of his surrounding teammates 4 times over. I was watching this thing on the NFL. It goes, when you look at the rosters he's been with, there have been complete roster turnovers 4 times, and yet it doesn't matter who you put around him. He just keeps winning. How many Hall of Famers has he played with? Randy Moss? Maybe? I mean, not maybe Randy Moss, but Randy Moss, sure, there was one he played with, but he only played with Randy Moss a couple seasons. Gronk could end up in the Hall of Fame. God, I hope he can stay healthy. But maybe one or two more over this 18-year career and have 5 rings with totally different teams. It's insane. But here's the thing. There are haters. And it doesn't matter to the haters. Tom can win 5 more Super Bowls and they'll still debate. So that's fine. But it's the beauty of sports, man. We can keep debating that stuff. Let's see. Mark C. writes, I respect your review of Glass, but I disagree. I saw a film about superpowers, not superheroes. Doesn't matter what it was about, it didn't work, in my opinion at any rate. As for the third act, I remember what Elijah says in Unbreakable. It's okay to be scared, David. This part's not like a comic book. Again, I just think look, I'm not disagreeing with anything that you said there, Mark, but none of that makes it a good movie. I mean, you appreciate and you liked it, great. But there's nothing there to make me even remotely question my experience with it, which was that it was underwhelming, pandering, and very little execution. Flashes of brilliance, fantastic performance by James McAvoy. Just stupidly good performance by James McAvoy, for sure. But at the end of the day, I'm just let down. I just ultimately felt let down. And you know what, Mark, you're not alone. There are other people who like the movie too, and that's great. I thought it was quite poor. Not terrible, not a dumpster fire, just not good, which is unfortunate because I had high hopes for it. I had high hopes. Let's see. Gabe Schembarger writes, watch Counterpart. It's worth buying anywhere. Yes, I've had a number of people say that, Gabe, to check that out, and I have to put it on my radar. It's on my radar, and I believe Rob was also telling me I need to check that out. So that's definitely something I'm going to keep my eyes out for. Eric DeRigi writes, what did Eric say? Eric DeRigi writes, when John reported the Ben Affleck out as Batman is when I became a loyal fan. I was laughed at by my local comic book peers and movie fans, but in the end, I stayed faithful, and John was right. Well, remember, Eric, what I told you guys was that he is done, but even if he's done, Warner Brothers still has one film. I said this from the beginning. There is still one film left on his contract, and therefore I believe there's a 50-50 chance we may see him in one more. 50-50 that we'll see him in one more. But aside from that, he's done. Even if they force him to do the one more, he'll do that one and then it'll be done. I mean, who knows? Maybe he appears. They're all talking that they're getting a younger Batman, but maybe he appears for a little bit as an older Batman and then do flashback. And most of the movie's in flashback, but he's in there. Okay, but there's his one more. Where's your Batman movie? Where's your look, and it wasn't me. It wasn't just me. The Hollywood Reporter told you guys. The Hollywood Reporter put out a big story just before Comic-Con of 2017, telling everybody he was done. I mean, this is the worst kept secret in Hollywood. But there is still, to this day, a 50-50 chance he does one more because he still has that one left on his contract. Warner Brothers doesn't have to execute that, but they may choose to. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But good to have you along for the ride, Eric. Good to have you along for the ride. Dan Ketchum writes, will a Marvel Wolverine have to be tall now? No. First of all, Marvel doesn't have to use Wolverine at all. It could be 8 years before we see Wolverine. I mean, we may see him in 2021. We may not see him until 2029, right? Does he have to be tall? No, but I don't think they're going to go with the traditional 4'11", 5'1" Wolverine. The audience has just become accustomed to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. That doesn't mean they have to go that way. That doesn't mean they have to. But today, when the vast majority of people think of Wolverine, they do think of Hugh Jackman, who is over 6 feet tall and a big dude. Not the traditional comic book version of Wolverine, but that's irrelevant. The audience, when they think of Wolverine, they think of Hugh Jackman. So let's put it this way, Dan. I'm in a position where I don't believe they necessarily need to do either, and I'm not going to be surprised if they do either. Look, I'm not going to be surprised if they come out and introduce us to a 5'2" Wolverine. I'm not going to be surprised by that. But I also kind of expect them to go with the taller Wolverine again. Again, that's just because that's what the audience... You put in a short Wolverine now, 95% of the movie going on is going to go, what the hell is this? And then there's going to be the 5% of us who know Wolverine in the comics supposed to be, well, he is the way he's truly supposed to be. But the audience doesn't care about that. So, I don't know. I mean, look, Kevin Feige is a wild dude, man. He may just go back and take him back to his comic book roots. But if I was a betting man, I would put $5 that they will get a taller Wolverine. Just because that's what everybody thinks of when they think of Wolverine now. So, I don't know. Ultimately, it's going to be Kevin Feige to make that decision, and we'll find out soon enough whether it's... And I don't even think they're going to rush out and make Wolverine in something. Everybody's expecting Wolverine now in late 2019. He's going to show... No, he's not. They're going to take their time with this X-Men stuff. Could be a year, could be 2 years, could be 4 years. I mean, we really just don't know right now. But when they do... Again, I think he'll probably be tall, but I'm not going to be surprised at all if Kevin Feige throws this curveball and takes him back to his comic book origins. Muse Tack Reviews writes, have you guys seen Mary, Queen of Scots? Thoughts? Yes. Liked it? The thing is, when you see the cast lineup and then you see the trailer, I was expecting like a movie of the year sort of contender, and it didn't do that. Good performances, solid, good period piece, but it kind of came and went for me, and some other people I know liked it more than that, but for me, that's where it was for me. Krieger 119 writes, why haven't replaced Ann's John with new John yet? Why haven't replaced as in John with new John yet? Sorry, Krieger. I'm sorry, dude. I know you took the time to write that in, but I don't know what it is you're asking. Sorry about that. Carlos Santana writes, what a couple of great games. The football games this past weekend, I mean, nail biters, both overtime. Both had a couple of unfortunate things. The overtime rule, the missed pass interference call, but still remarkably entertaining football games. It was a fun day to be a sports fan, Carlos. It was a fun day to be a sports fan. Muse Tack Reviews writes, thoughts on the Smallville version of Supergirl? You know, I vaguely remember her. I remember she was blonde and that, but I believe she was a Canadian actress, I think. But, man, it was so long ago. I can't even really remember if I liked her, and I think I liked her. I think I liked their incarnation of Supergirl, but I can't remember. It was just too many years ago for me now. Michael Jones writes, hey, John. Saw Glass this weekend, and when the credits started to roll, only a few people got up and left. The rest were waiting for an end credit scene. In general, do you and Robert like end credit scenes or wish they would go away? I like end credit scenes. I do. I don't often stick. The only time I stick around, though, so there have been end credit scenes I've missed out on. So, for instance, I missed out on the Wreck-It Ralph end credit scene because I was not expecting one there. Right? So, when it's a DC movie and when it's a Marvel movie, I stick around. Other than that, I do not wait around for post-credit scenes. I just assume they're not going to be there, so I get up and leave. I don't know why anybody thought there would be a post-credit scene in Glass, unless there actually was one and I just missed it. But I don't know why anybody would. But I think as an audience member, you have to be a little bit more up to speed on that, hey, most of these movies don't have post-credit scenes. DC movie, you're probably going to get one. Not even 100% for sure, but probably. An MCU movie, pretty much guarantee you're going to get a post-credit scene. Other than that, hey, if you want to stick around and wait for a movie to see if there's a post-credit scene, you're rolling the dice because it's not likely, but it's possible. But I like them. I do. I like them. They give us a nice little kick when there's something worth watching, at least at any rate. All right. Gene Checks writes, the Heartbreak Kid is the best there ever was. Nah, man, that's Bret the Hitman Hart. Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. Shawn Michaels was great, though. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart together were great. But there are a lot of guys from that era, man, that were just so ridiculously good and talented. Dean, what was Dean Samienko. What was his last name? He was like one of the best in-ring technicians ever. Um, why am I forgetting the name of? Oh, why am I forgetting his? Eddie Guerrero. Thank you. Oof, I was freezing on Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero was a hell of a performer. Then you go back to older ages, Big Boss Man, Honky Tonk Man, blah, blah, but Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart were just amazing. Bike Man writes, Matt Stone and Trey Parker to host the Oscars. Yeah, that wouldn't raise any eyebrows. I would watch, but that would raise a lot of eyebrows. Brandon Barrett writes, think the opening shot of the Shazam spot is the last scene of the movie. Great shot. I don't think so. I don't think it is. I can see where you're coming from, though. It kind of feels like we were talking about that new Shazam trailer, and it kind of starts with Billy on the edge of the building, then jumping off the building and yelling, Shazam! The lightning hits him, and he's transformed into Zachary Levi, and he's Shazam, and he flies off. There is a little bit of a feel of that's the end of the movie. The movie's done. He saved the city, and he's looking out over the city, and then here's a call for help and goes, Shazam! Boom! And roll credits, right? But I don't think they've done that. I think that's actually in the body of the movie. And I agree with you. I cannot wait. I'm getting very, very excited for this Shazam movie. All right. Mark C. writes, Leslie Jones needs to realize that it's not about men or women. It's about a very few particular men, some of whom are considered the funniest the planet has ever seen. I don't think that's necessarily true, Mark, because it's not about them. I do not believe that this next movie is going to star Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Rick Moranis. I don't think that. I think they may have a presence in there, but I don't believe this is going to be their movie. I really don't. So it's not about that. It's not about the guys. It's about money. Leslie Jones needs to realize this isn't about men or women. It's about that they tried a rebooted Ghostbusters, regardless of whether it had men or women starring in it, regardless. Sony tried a rebooted Ghostbusters, and it financially completely fell on its face and flopped. That's all it is. This has nothing to do with men. It has nothing to do with women. It's all about your movie flopped. And so they're scrapping that part of it and going back to something else. It's sound business. You know, when they announced that they were going to not make another Amazing Spider-Man and that they were doing the MCU deal and they were going to reboot Spider-Man again, did Andrew Garfield get on Twitter and say, F this, what, my movies don't count? This is BS, this is blah, blah. Did he do that? Nope. What did he do? He in interviews and did all that kind of stuff. You know what? It's such an honor that I get to be a part of Spider-Man history. It was such an honor to play Spider-Man. I'm looking forward to what they do with Spider-Man in the future. Boom. That's what Andrew Garfield did. And that's what Leslie Jones should have done. Instead, she tried to change the topic and make it about a men and women thing, and it just wasn't. Sometimes it is, and it needs to be pointed out. But this wasn't that. Sony was ballsy. They took a chance, made an all-female Ghostbusters in 2016, but it financially flopped. That's the only issue. That's not some small little detail. That's the issue. Your movie flopped. I liked your movie. I liked you in the movie. But the movie flopped. Completely and utterly failed. So what are they supposed to do? That's the only issue. It's not about Bill Murray. It's not about Dan Aykroyd. It's not about women. It's not about men. It's about money. And the 2016 Ghostbusters lost a dump truck full of money. And these companies aren't in this business to lose money. Let's see. James McHatton writes, Saints Rams worst no call in sports history. No doubt. No doubt. I've never seen a more egregious missed call. Because that wasn't just one penalty. It wasn't just pass interference. It was unsportsmanlike conduct. It was unnecessary roughness. It was helmet to helmet with a defenseless receiver. It was all of those. It was all of those. And they called none of them. It defies logic and it defies, I just cannot believe it. And I feel so bad for Saints fans. Pensive Ruin writes, why are you supportive of James Gunn but not Leslie? What the fuck, Pensive? What does one have to do with the other? They are completely different situations. Why are you... Pensive, my friend, you write in a lot of very good, clever, fun questions, stuff like that. What does the James Gunn situation have to do with the Leslie Jones situation? They are nothing alike. So I'm not even going to address that. Look, you've asked some great questions, and I'm sure you're going to continue to ask awesome, great questions. I can get excited when I see the name Pensive Ruin. But I tell you this in love, my brother, that's dumb. That's dumb. James Gunn and Leslie, give me a break. Starfire Triple X writes, regarding James Gunn, I only saw Mike Kalinowski discuss. James Gunn was heading the MCU Cosmic, had a hand in all Cosmic CM plus Future. James Gunn spoke about this in live chat. Isn't the loss of creative head bigger deal than a director of Guardians of the Galaxy? No, not even a little bit. He was big picture concept kind of guy when dealing on that level. But the director of the film is always more important. Always more important. He was going to sit down with the directors and help conceptualize where they can go. But he wasn't mini Kevin Feige. He was going to be involved. He was going to give ideas. He was going to help conceptualize some things, big picture stuff. But the actual work of getting in there and making a movie and making it good, that's on the shoulders of the director. So, no, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's a little bit of a loss, but it's ultimately, I don't think that big of a deal. I think the MCU would have benefited from James Gunn in that role, but honestly, it's the loss of him as a director of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that hurts the most. And they're going to see the biggest difference. So, yeah, I think the director part is by far the bigger deal. All right. Randall Guzik writes, I seem to remember Dan Aykroyd always saying that he was going to do a Ghostbusters 3. Yeah, he's always said that, but it's mostly just hot air. Love Dan Aykroyd, good Canadian kid, but it's always been mostly hot air. Regardless of the Ghostbusters reboot, am I wrong? You three rock. Thanks, and live long and filthy. Well, thank you so much, Randall. Yeah, Dan Aykroyd has talked forever. He talks a lot. And I love Dan Aykroyd, and he's a good Canadian kid. But over the years, as long as I've been doing this, man, that dude just loves to talk. And say a lot of ridiculous things. Some things that turn out to be, some things that turn out to not be. And that's just kind of the way it is. It's just kind of the way it is. So I've never taken that with anything. I've never taken that with any sense of seriousness, anything he said. And I'm pretty sure that this move by Sony has very little to do with Dan Aykroyd. At least that's how I feel about it. So I don't think that's big of a deal. But I love that live long and filthy. That's great. Thanks for sharing that, Randall. All right. Cinematic Galaxy writes, China came through in the clutch for Bumblebee. Yeah, I heard it did pretty well in China, which is great. Bumblebee has made over $400 million worldwide. It's now a profitable movie, something I don't think Paramount ever even expected Bumblebee to be profitable. I thought they just looked at Bumblebee as, hey, we're going to lose a little bit of money with it, but we're going to rehabilitate the image of our Transformers franchise with a good Bumblebee movie. And look at that. They didn't just rehabilitate the image. They actually made a little bit of coin on the way to doing it, and good for them, man. And yeah, China was a part of that. Digital JP writes, well-spoken Ashley, John, do you think they could go to extreme Ghostbusters versions for the next movie? If you're talking about the cartoon, I'm just not familiar with it, so I don't know. I couldn't answer that, unfortunately. El Guapo Castillo writes, former Raphael's creative style. I'm watching It's a Mad, 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 Mad World in 2 parts. Long, funny, hell of a movie. I can't remember it, to be honest with you, off the top of my head, El Guapo. I just don't remember it, but I'm glad you're enjoying it, whatever it is. Eric DeRigi writes, you have to appreciate the evolution of Channing Tatum's career. I hate the fact that I'm starting to like him. Dude, I've said this before. I will say it again. I used to regularly and with deep conviction say Channing Tatum is the worst actor in Hollywood who regularly gets work. And I just never understood why people gave him roles. I really didn't. But he's gotten better and better and better and better and better to the point now that I'm not just okay with him now. I get excited when he's going to be in a movie now. I want to see him play Gambit. I want to see him in 23 Jump Street. I have gone from the point of being, I think Channing Tatum is the worst actor in Hollywood, to I actually look forward to whatever it is in next. Because he's worked hard, he's developed slowly but surely, he's gotten better and better, and now I actually think he's quite good, and I think he's a really damn good entertainer now. And I think that's a great role model and precedent to set for a lot of new performers who may not be so good right now, that, hey, they can get there. They can get there. And Channing Tatum is proof of that, and I actually quite like the guy. All right, Darth Sidious writes, over under 50%, would James Wan will direct the Flash movie? Under. I'll take massively under. If he's going to do another DC movie, it will be Aquaman again. Right now, at least they say, the Flash movie already has two directors. The guys who directed Game Night are the ones attached to director right now. So I will go well under. I would take under 10%. I'm not going to say zero. Not saying zero. But I would take under 10% that James Wan would direct a Flash movie. Non-Stick Axis Productions writes, any progress on Steven Spielberg's Halo series? People have been asking that for years. Not that I've heard of. And I wouldn't call it Steven Spielberg's Halo. He's going to have next to no involvement in that. He's got 3 movies lined up that he's directing, including the West Side Story that he's working on now. That's taken all of his time. So there may be a Halo series, and if that does get around to actually happening, I don't think you're going to have much Steven Spielberg involvement in it, which is too bad. But no, to answer your question, Non-Stick, I haven't heard of any progress on it. Now, that doesn't mean there hasn't been progress. That doesn't mean there hasn't been a lot of behind-the-scenes progress. I'm just saying I haven't heard of any. So for all I know, it's still sitting on a shelf, or it could be getting ready to go in production. I don't know at this point. All right. Luke writes, John, the Bourne Legacy movie took the title from a Jason Bourne novel. Bourne was not in the movie. Do you think this is insulting to the author of the book and the fans and Matt Damon? No. This whole, I'll be honest with you, Luke, this whole thing, this is insulting. No, it's not. It's not insulting in the least. Least of all to an actor hired to play a role in a movie. It's not insulting to any of them or any of that. So no, I reject that notion completely that it's insulting to anybody. No. Was it the best move? Well, we can debate that. We can debate whether it was a good move or not, but is it insulting to Matt Damon? Is it insulting? No, not at all. Mr. Hero 17 writes, future films you want to see in the MCU next phase. Don't care. Whatever movie they think would be a good next lineup for them. I trust them with whatever they think the best direction is, and that's what they're going to do, and I'll be all on board for it. Darth Breeboy writes, Darth Breeboy, I like that. What do you think of the despecialized editions of Star Wars as a form of film preservation? No, I reject that. I like the despecialized edition. I do. As a form of film preservation, no, I wouldn't consider it that. But there's a couple of things, fan-done things you should check out. The despecialized edition, great. The prequel de-cheesed edition, I think you can still find it out there. The prequel de-cheesed edition, a lot of heavy editing, but I'll tell you what, it makes those prequel movies infinitely more watchable. I'm telling you, infinitely more watchable. If you get a chance to find those, I would check those out if you get a chance. I'm sure Darth Breeboy knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, if you get a chance to see those, absolutely do. And follow Darth Breeboy's pointing here. If you get a chance, pardon me, if you get a chance to see the despecialized edition, make sure you guys check those out. All right, guys, that will do it for this installment of the companion video. Thank you so much for being here and joining me. Now, listen, we still got a bunch of companion questions that we got to get to, but we'll get to those in another video coming up here pretty shortly. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. My name's John Campia, and until the next video, bye-bye.